Before we dive into today's episode, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsor, PensionBee. Between juggling work, parenting, the school run, and figuring out what's for dinner, sorting out your pension is probably at the very bottom of your list. But here's the thing. Future you deserves a bit of love too. That's where PensionBee comes in. They're a leading online pension provider, making it easier for people, especially single parents like us, to feel confident about saving for retirement. Whether you're employed, self-employed, or somewhere in between, they make it simple to combine old pensions into one easy to manage plan. Make flexible contributions in a few clicks and choose a plan that aligns with your values. You can manage it all from their easy to use app, which honestly feels like a little win in your day. And we know single parents are experts at celebrating the little wins. So, if you've got old pensions floating around in the ether, or you've just never got round to opening one, this is your sign. Head to pensionbee.com/UK or download the app to get started. It only takes a few minutes, and trust me, future you will thank you for it. Just remember, as with all investments, your capital is at risk. Thanks again to PensionBee for supporting this episode. Hi, I'm Zoe Desmond, the founder of Frolo, the award-winning app for single parents that features both community and dating modes. And I'm also co-author, along with my wonderful friend Rebecca Cox, that I made through Frolo, of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent. Welcome back to the Frolo podcast. Today, I'm joined by Orla Donoghue. She's a coach, writer, workplace inclusion advocate, host of the Single Parent Reset podcast, and a Frolo Expert Meetups host. Orla became a single parent over 4 years ago, and today we're going to hear all about her personal journey and the work she's doing to shift narratives around single parenting and why community support is so essential. Orla, a very warm welcome to the Frolo podcast.
Thank you for having me, Zoe. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation today.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and we just had a little chat offline before we hit record, and you have been running Frolo Expert Meetups for some time now, which we can delve into a bit later in the conversation. But yeah, I've heard just such incredible feedback from the community, and I'm really just admire and respect your initiative and drive and passion for all things single parenting and flying the good flag with it. So really, really interested to learn more about you and how you came to do all this great work that you're doing. So let's start there. What is your backstory?
Yes, so my backstory is, I'm originally from Dublin, as you can hear from the accent. Hopefully I haven't lost it. I have been living in London.
It's still there.
Good, because I think I go home sometimes and people are like, oh, it's kind of losing it there. I'm like, oh no. But no, so I'm from Dublin originally, and I've been living in London, for over 14 years now, I think it is. And I became a single parent 4 years ago. And my son is now 6, so he was quite young at the time. He was only 1 when I became a single parent, which I think brings a whole host of challenges when you're doing co-parenting, because I do co-parent 50-50, but it's your co-parenting through potty training, through nap schedules, there's a lot more to consider. And yeah, so I found that quite challenging at the time. But when I did become a single parent, it was January 2021. So it was when everyone was in lockdown and the whole world was sitting at home. And while you think, oh, actually, that must have been horrendous, actually, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because I didn't have to go out to events while I was still trying to process everything that was happening. I didn't have to go into the office. I could sit at home and just focus on me and my son and just getting into a new rhythm of what our new family setup was. And taking that time to look after me was actually one of the best things that actually made things easier for me to get transition into becoming a single parent and seeing all the good that it is being a single parent and seeing it for all the positives. So that's kind of what brought me into becoming a single parent. And then, yeah, and then I was working away, doing my thing. The world started opening up again, started going back into the office again. I was like, this is all fine. I'm managing it. Oh my God, life is absolutely fantastic. I've got this. This is great. And then a few different things happened. Obviously, being a single parent, finances is one of the big challenges. So I got offered a new job in another company. The company I've been working in have been amazing and really supportive throughout my whole single parent journey. But I thought this new job, it's more money, more responsibility. Okay, yeah, it's a few more days in the office than I ideally like, but I'm going to go for it because I just went for it. I'm going to be honest, the money and the status of it. I'm just going to go for
And
it.
do you mind me asking, what was the job?
Yeah, of course. I worked in retail merchandising since, so I trained, I did a degree in fashion marketing and then moved down to London, and I've been working in retail merchandising pretty much my whole career. So that's what I was doing. So it was hybrid working, but I mean, a lot of the time as things start to open up, obviously you're working with product, so you kind of need to be in the office to, see the product that you're talking about and signing off and everything. So then I changed into this new role. Really nice company that I moved to, but for me, it was the extra days in the office and the extra responsibility, and also being a co-parent. While I didn't have my son all the time, the days you do have them, you're doing the drop off and pick up, and I was really, really struggling with it. And then my son went to school. And with my son going to school, the childcare hours reduced because his nursery used to open from 7:30 to 6:30. Now I didn't have him in all of those hours, but it was having that leeway either side that suddenly I didn't have because the school aftercare and breakfast clubs weren't the same hours. And it all just very quickly and very rapidly fell apart for me.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm sure you know the feeling. I'm sure you've been there.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. Yes, there's a lot of parallels. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, which I'll highlight shortly. But yeah, so it all fell apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really did. And that was for me then. I was thinking, okay, I need to do something else. I need to look into another like type of work. And that's how I came upon coaching, looking into coaching. And then through doing my training of coaching, initially I was really like, people kept saying, why don't you do single parent coaching? Because, you're always really positive about your single parent journey and you're always really, positive about the whole thing. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want that to be my thing. I don't want to be these like single parent and talking about it all the time. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll do a few calls with a few different single parents just while I was doing my training, just to see what everyone's saying. And honestly, Zoe, I couldn't believe it. Every single person was saying the exact same thing to me, but they were saying it as if they'd never said it before. They were like ushering secrets to me, and they were the only
I
one who got
know.
it. And I was like, oh my God. So, like, there's so many single parents out there that are really stuck with these feelings of like they're feeling like they're the only one. And that was it. And then I was off then. I was like, that's it. I'm gonna set up my business and start supporting single parents.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I can't not highlight the parallels because my son was one as well when I became a single parent. I co-parent 50-50, and like you, kind of the whole sort of experience spurred me into creating something that supported, creating Frolo, in order to kind of have the community that I wish that I needed around me. But how you shared that the single parents that you spoke to, it was like they were whispering a secret, and that it was exactly how I felt. It was like, wow, we're all just, kind of hiding behind this sort of, I don't know, maybe feeling of shame, or not wanting to own our single parent title, or not wanting to identify as a single parent, and that leads me to a question that is, how do you feel about the term single parent? How did you feel about it back then when you became one, and has that evolved? The following is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp. I want to talk about mental health for a minute. Being a single parent comes with its highs and lows, and as single parents, it's so important to make sure we look after ourselves in the process. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to BetterHelp, the online therapy service that's here to support you every step of the way. With BetterHelp, you can connect with registered therapists from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or just need someone to talk to, they're here to help. Plus, as a Frolo member, you get an exclusive 25% off your first month. Just visit betterhelp.com/Frolo. That's betterhelp.com/Frolo.
Yeah, I actually have quite a funny story about this. So for me, I can't remember the exact timeline. I'm going to say between 3 and 6 months from when I separated from my son's dad, and I was well in the throes of like, okay, here we are, co-parenting, doing all the things. And I was like walking, I remember so well. I remember where I was walking, it's just like down the road, and it just clicked into my head. I was like, you're a single parent. And I hadn't like, it hadn't landed before. I haven't thought about it. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And I really had to analyze like, oh, I'm a single, and then I was like, but am I a single parent? Can I say, and I'm sure you've come across this with the work you do with Frolo, can I say I'm a single parent? Because I'm a co-parent. I don't have my son all the time. And I know there's a lot of nuances even around the term single parent. But yeah, and I really had to look at, oh, what does that term mean for me? And does it even matter? And then owning it. And now I think it's the proudest thing for me to say. I love saying I'm a single parent. I think it's an absolute badge of honor, especially around it's an instant connector. If you do meet another single parent, you can just go straight from like small talk to you're right in very quickly, I think. So yeah, I think definitely for me, didn't even cross my mind for a good few months. And then when it did, it landed quite heavy and I had to do a bit of exploring as to what does that even mean for me? Is that a term that I'm used to saying? You know, all of these things came up, which is really common for a lot of people. And some people can even not identify with the term, even when they are a single parent. It's quite interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And that's why I ask, because I think it is so layered and and nuanced, as you say. And I think I was so uncomfortable with the term single parent or identifying as one in the early days. And even when I was thinking about the name, people often say to me, what does Frolo mean? Where did the name Frolo come from? And it was because when thinking about the name for an app, it needed to be short and something that fit in the little app icon. So, but I also wanted it to mean something, not just to pluck a random name from the sky. And so Frolo is friends and solo. And it was a way of kind of rebranding sort of single parent in my mind, because, it has just so much. Yeah, just it has so many negative connotations and all of the stigma and everything. So I think, like you, I'm so proud to be a single parent. I actually think it has been the making of me as a person, and I'm, really proud of the strength that it's shown me that I have, the resilience, the mother that I am, all of these things. But I do still see a lot of people who feel very deeply uncomfortable with calling themselves a single parent. Or so I know that it's people have different, I use the term single parent for anyone who's a single parent, solo parent, widow, but I know that some people are very specific about that, what, the labels. But there are so many people that just seem to really shy away from it. And I suppose it makes me sad in the respect of that. I feel like some people are really missing out on that kind of connection and support and community. So sometimes I get the impression that people might see Frolo as, oh, that's for people who are, really struggling, or who, don't. But it's not just for that. Yes, it can be for that, but it's also for people having really fun meetups, going camping, going glamping, going to festivals, going to Frolo Parents nights out, doing so yeah, it's just I think there's a lot of people that still kind of put them, are clinging on to maybe the negative, outdated stigma around single parenting, and I hope that in time, with the work that you're doing, I'm doing, and lots of other great, people and organizations are doing, that can evolve and change.
Yeah, and I do agree as well. I think there's a big thing around the stigma. And some people can be like, oh, no, it's not there. Trust me, if you were a single parent, you will know it is there. It's 100% there. But
Mm,
one thing I do when I,
mm,
speak to some people who this is really strong for them is, yes, it is there in the public, and there's nothing we can do about that. It's there in the media. It's portrayed all the time. You have it even amongst your own friends and family will say offhand comments without them being aware that you're in the room and you just heard that being said. But also, one thing I do invite people to say is like, look inside at your, like what I did. What does that actually mean for you and that term, and challenging that for yourself as well? Because sometimes it can be our own internalized stigma that we don't even want to confront for ourselves, and breaking down
mm.
what you believe a single parent to be, and then putting that against what you are and seeing how that doesn't actually line up at all, and kind of breaking it down from within. Because we can't stop what other people are going to think. And yes, hopefully, again, like with the likes of Frolo, that the work that you're doing, we will see people's ideas and of notions of what single parent is change. But yeah, looking at within yourself, what does single parent mean to me first, and then helping that kind of break it down can be really useful.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'd love to go back to when you became, when you separated in lockdown, and your son was only one. And it sounds like were in a positive place despite all of the circumstances. And I'm just wondering what was that transition like, and the transitioning to co-parenting 50-50, and how has your son navigated that?
Yeah, I think so. The transition for me, and then I'll move on to my son because his transition has been great. So for me, I think one of the early things was really accepting that this is happening and being like, okay, we are here, this is happening. And if this is going to happen, how are we going to make this the best version for our family? And moving forward with it rather than staying stuck in, oh, what if this, and how could they do that? And that goes to like in my own situation, like creating a family unit for me and my son, and also with the co-parent. If I was going to be co-parenting with this person, taking all emotions out of it and just focusing on that co-parenting part, and then the emotions dealing with separately myself. So it's very trying to make sure that I was accepting what was going on, and if this was what was going on, how can I move forward? What support do I need to put in place for myself? And I'm being really conscious of my thoughts, because I think sometimes things will pop into your head like, oh, what if this, what if that? And just thinking, no, is that a helpful thought? Would be something I'd think to myself. Is that helpful? If it's not, stop thinking about it. You can't control that, and moving forward. So that all really helped me. And speaking to others, like one of the best bit of advice when it first happened, when I first separated, was actually from my dad. And he was like, just talk to everyone, just tell everyone, just talk and talk and talk. And I was like, oh, my mom was a bit like, okay, I don't know about that. And he was like, no, just talk and talk. And he was right. I think just keep talking
Yeah.
to people, and let people know how you're feeling, and don't shy away from the uncomfortable feelings, because they will come up. It's a huge transition that you're going through, and it's a really hard thing. And people won't know the right thing to say, because many single parents are the only single parent in their friendship group. It might be the first one to be going through things like this. So the friends, they don't know what to say. They're not equipped. But what they can do is they can listen, and just listen to you while you kind of work your way through different things. So yes, that was kind of like my transition. So speaking to everyone, I'm sure friends were sick of me by the end of it, but yeah. So speaking to everyone. And then as for my son, because he was so young, he transitioned, he knew no different. When he started school, I remember so well, he came home from school one day and he was like, oh my God, Mom, I have to tell you something. I was like, what? And he was like, did you know that Ford's parents lived together? And I was like, what? They live together? So for him, it was insane for a
That is so
family.
wow.
Yeah.
So did you have other single parent friends?
Yeah, no, as I didn't at the time. So he would have been
So
used
he just
to,
assumed his family was this was how yeah,
yeah,
that your family set up. That's what families looked like. And
that's,
okay,
yeah, which
interesting.
doesn't make
Yeah.
sense because we would meet up with other families. I don't know if they thought they
Mm.
all went their separate ways or something afterwards. I don't know. But
Sure.
yeah, so he transitioned really well. And then, but obviously it's hard though as the parent because I think all you're thinking the whole time is this going to be a problem for them? Is this,
Mm.
any, I think a huge thing for single parents for me as well, even now I do this, any misbehavior or if he acts out of the norm, I'll go straight to, okay, it's because he's living across two
Mm.
households or disrupting his routine. And it's like having to not let myself think that and actually think, okay, what are the other reasons he could be acting like this? But yeah, it is a constant thing that you kind of a worry that you would have, but just reminding yourself that so long as they're in like a safe space in both homes, that's all that matters, and that's what you're providing them. So yeah.
Absolutely. And what about how did you then end up meeting other single parents? I know through your work, was that how did you end up meeting other single parents as friends or as a support system? And then through the work that you're doing as well, how did you get the word out to other single parents?
Yeah, I think it
Where
was.
did you start making those connections?
Yeah, I started making them, I would say through friends of friends, or when I started also building the business, going to the old kind of networking thing. And then you would meet other single parents. And as soon as someone hears you're a single parent, they kind of gravitate towards each other. So it'll be through that. And it's just great because, like I said, the conversations you can have with single parents are unparalleled with other ones because you can go to places that you can't. Like, I'm really lucky. I've got really close, my NCT group in London. We're also living in London. We also live local, and they've been amazing support. And like, so I've got a really solid group of like, say, mum friends. And then I got my friends, some of which who are single. So I got like my single friends, but it was that in between bit that I was missing. And then it's when you meet other single parents, like I said, at various things, that I've met them, be it like through friends of friends or also through Frolo. There's people on Frolo as well, is meeting people. And yeah, and one thing that can be challenging though with single parents, you're a single parent, so the children are always there. So it can be hard sometimes to get the time, to have adult time with single parents, to, catch up without the kids constantly interrupting. Yeah.
How did you find out about Frollo, actually? Always interested to know.
I was at home in Dublin, and I think it was the Irish Independent, and I was reading it, and I was like, "Oh my God, Mom!" And it was an article by you. I was like, "It's me," because it was like I co-parent,
Oh,
I live in London, my
yeah.
son was one, and it was talking about your app, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So that's how I found out.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. Well, I'm so glad that you did. And then going on to your work. So how do you work with other single parents? Walk us through an example of what someone working with you, what would that look like?
Yeah, so initially I do a 30-minute consultation, like free consultation with anyone who's interested in working with me. And a lot of the time people even get a value from that because it's a space for me to just sit and listen and ask someone, what's going on? Where do you want to be? What's getting in the way of you being there? And I'm not interrupting. I'm not telling you the answers. And a lot of people don't actually have that space. And even that alone can be quite beneficial. And then if people decide to work with me, I work with people over a 3-month period, either meeting twice a month or once a month. And what we do is when I'm doing coaching, so I think a lot of people have a misconception with life coaching. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to a life coach and they're going to sort my life out. And that's not what I do. I don't give you the answers or anything like that. What I'm here to do is to look at where are you now? Where do you want to be? Why do you want to be there? Like, what's important about you being there? And why you're not there now? And looking at how can you actually get yourself there. So I'm there to purely facilitate you deciding what's important for you, why you're not there at the moment, and how to get yourself there. I don't tell you what to do. I don't tell you the actions. What I do is use tools and techniques to help you understand the different things that are getting in your way and overcome them. And when it comes to making the actions, I make sure that you're setting actions that are bulletproof, ones that work for you, that you're going to be accountable for, looking at what challenges might come in the way, how you can overcome them, so that you're setting yourself up for success. So it's all about, because everyone, I truly believe, has the answers within themselves, but sometimes you just need someone to help you bring those answers out and kind of help you, guide you along the way. But yeah, I don't tell people what to do, because there's no point in me telling you what to do, because I'm not you. Everyone's different, and what I think would work, you might not work for you at all. So yeah, so that is kind of how I work with people.
I love that. And it's, so essential for single parents, because we, most of us live in a world of overwhelm and spinning plates and to-do lists everywhere, and trying to, figure out a way to make it all work. So I think it's so great to be able to have that support with the work that you're doing, where it's really like stepping back and thinking, what, instead of the grind of the day to day, going, what do I want? Where do I want to go? And because it's so easy to just get caught up in that daily grind, I think, as a single parent. So, and what are the challenges that you see coming up the most with the single parents that you work with, or the things that people want to overcome the most or need the most support with?
Yeah, I think there's a few different things. So some people will come to me quite early on in their single parent journey, and for them, it's a lot more about the transition and overcoming, like moving into this next stage. For others, they're kind of close or further along in their single parent journey, but they're still finding they're just so overwhelmed, and they just cannot feel like they don't have a handle on anything. They're fatigued by all the decisions they have to make, and they just don't even know where to start. It's another massive one. And some people come where they're really finding it difficult with co-parenting relationships, and having that sense of detachment that's sometimes required with co-parenting is another massive thing. But overall, I would say they're the kind of high level things, the kind of tangible things. But at the root of a lot of it, it is feelings of loneliness, not wanting to ask for help, feeling like you failed, or the sense of shame. At the root of a lot of these problems, it's that. And once we get to that,
Yeah,
that's when you can really start transforming and kind of breaking away all those things and start making the change and feeling like you deserve the change, and you haven't done
yeah.
anything wrong by being a single parent, and you can start living life that's the best life for you and your family.
Oh, I love that. And I completely agree. And I think it's why I felt so in need of that connection and community in the early days, because I felt like this is the core of it all. I need to
Mm-hmm.
feel connected first.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, there's, from there, that's, you feel more capable of tackling all the other stuff that you inevitably need to figure out as a single parent. And what about you? What are your biggest challenges as a single parent?
That's a good question. Straight away it comes. I'm like, as much as my son has transitioned very well into being living across two households, I struggle with, if it's just the weekends, just me and him, and just keeping my cool and just staying calm. And because a lot of the meetups I've done for Frolo, I think I've done one on like anger and rage and stuff like that, or
Mm,
all the meetups that I do. When I'm talking and doing them and giving them, I am speaking to myself as well. And even
yeah.
like, for example, I did like a meetup last night, and it was all about self-care
Mm,
and making self-care work for you. And I had a particularly tricky evening with my son yesterday evening. And I was like, you need to stay calm. I was like, you cannot do a meetup later on all about self-care, having just lost it with your child. So I think for me, I think it's just
I
that.
think it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because it's real, and I
Yeah.
think that's why people will completely, feel the value in what you're offering, because you're a real person
Mhm.
living through this real experience just like everyone else in the Frolo community, instead of, an expert who's telling people what they should do, but not having,
Yeah.
not experiencing all these real life challenges.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference as well, is because I'm in it. I am well and truly in it. It's not like my son's growing up, he is 6 and he's very much attached to me. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest challenge, is just having him, and when not having him, but when it's just me and him, at times it can feel
Yes.
full on. There's no other
Yeah.
sibling. It's just me and him. And in his other household, there's like more family members and stuff there. So like when it's just me and him, he doesn't leave my side, and it's just intense. I find it overwhelming and intense, and there's no let up. And people are like, "Oh, just walk away or lock yourself in the toilet." I was like, "He'll open the door and walk in."
I know. I totally get it. I
Mhm.
really understand. It's the same. I saw a really, really funny reel yesterday, and it made me laugh so much because I thought it was so accurate. And it was this dad saying goodnight to saying good morning to his kid, and just being like, "Oh, my gorgeous, my gorgeous baby, how did you sleep, my precious angel?" And then it cuts to saying goodnight at night time. It's like, "I love you too. Now go to freaking sleep." And it's just like, oh my God, that sums up my life so much. It's like, after a night's
Yeah.
sleep, hopefully getting a proper night's sleep, and then, feeling like I've got it, got enough in my tank. Here we go, set for the day. And then by the end of the day, it's like nothing in the tank, tolerance low, need just, counting down the seconds until you can have just a moment to breathe. And I don't know about you, Orla, but like sometimes, sometimes I find myself, and my son is 9 now, so it is definitely a different, easier stage than the early days for sure. But like there's still times where I just sit and stare at a wall after I've put him down to bed, because it's like my whole, I almost just need to, I almost just can't move.
It's a challenge. That's actually funny you say that, because that's a really big challenge that a lot of people come to me with, is this frustration of they're desperate for their kids to go to bed or to get that hour to themselves. They finally get it and they're like, okay, I'm going to do so much. And then they just sit there and they're like, I can't do anything. And then you feel really bad because you're like, but that was my free time and I was supposed to do all these things. And,
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
look, if there's one thing I've become really good at, it's, whereas I used to try and cram in everything I needed to cram in, whether it's work or admin or paying bill, whatever it is, catching up, getting back to texts from friends, whatever it is, in the evenings, now I prioritize just letting my brain rest and getting into bed at a ridiculously early time, when I need to, and I cannot recommend that enough. If people get the opportunity to get into bed at the same time as your kids go down to catch up in a night's sleep, I just think that is the best weapon you can have, is sleep on your side. I know that not everyone, unfortunately, is in a period of parenting where that's possible, but it helps a lot, I think. So Frolo Meetups, I would love to hear about your experience of Frolo Meetups, and what kind of meetups you've been running with the Frolo community, what kind of people have been attending your meetups, what does a typical meetup look like, and what's your general experience of it?
Yeah. Yeah, I love the meetups. I think I was saying it to you, it's like one of my favorite parts of evenings of the month, because it's just a really nice hour. So the topics I covered have varied, but they're all around kind of what I would generally cover when I work with my clients. So it's like last night was self-care. I've done one around loneliness and building confidence. I can't remember. Oh, I think I did one on anger. Obviously, I did that personally for myself. So yeah, so all different themes, and generally how it runs is always set the scene, so that it's a very safe and confidential space so people feel comfortable sharing. And it's always great because there's always a variety of people who come to them. So we've got single moms, single dads, everyone's route to single parenthood is always completely different as well, which is brilliant. And then we do like a mini introduction for people who want to share. And I'm aware a lot of the time, sometimes like last night, there was someone who was only using the chat because they were still putting their kids to bed. People sometimes just have me in the ears while they're doing their dishes and stuff like that. And that's totally fine. But we'll do a little introduction, and then I talk about whatever the topic is, why it's a challenge for single parents, and just discussing specifically the topic at hand and how not just for parents it's a challenge, for single parents why it's a challenge, so why it really resonates with us as a single parent community. And then moving on to strategies to overcome it, so looking at like what are your beliefs and barriers with that, doing some exploration. And again, some of this is either we'll go away and do some journaling for 5 minutes, or it'll be sharing in the chat, just this kind of open conversation throughout. And the overall thing is for me is so that people come away and they feel like they've learned something about the particular topic and why it's important for them, and also strategies to make whatever that challenge is easier for them as well. But the overall thing, what I think is, and this is any meetup I do with any organization, is I could talk about anything, and I mean anything, but the main value is having single parents in a room together speaking, and pretty much every time people will be like, oh my God, me too. Oh my God, I can't believe someone. And for other people to see me, and for me to, the bit where I talk about why this challenge for single parents, the chat will be like, oh my God, yes, all of these agree. So to see having someone else say what you thought was just you, and seeing people connecting in it, I think that's the main thing. That I think the value is coming together and connecting with others and hearing other people's challenges and knowing everyone's going through it. Everyone's sitting at home because they can't go out because their kids are in bed, and it's, they're still under lockdown, even though that was now 5 years ago.
I know. Can you believe it? It was 5 years ago. It's bizarre. Crazy. But
crazy.
That's really, really helpful. And thank you for painting that picture of what a Frolo meetup looks like, because the feedback that we get a lot, and that I see a lot on the app sometimes, is individuals who say, wow, I've been on Frolo for a couple of years or whatever it is, but I've never plucked up the courage to go to a meetup, even a virtual meetup. And I did last night, and I'm kicking myself now that I didn't, because it was amazing. And that's such a huge part, I think, as you say, of people feeling more kind of connected and having the opportunity to really just create that connection with other single parents. And also love that it's super flexible, as you say, with Frolo meetups. You can have the camera off, you can have yourself on mute, you can type a question in the question box if you have something pressing that you want to ask related to whatever the topic is. There's no one kind of judging whether someone's got their camera on or camera off. We're all single parents, and that's the way the Frolo meetups are. So that's super helpful for you, kind of sharing that as well. And in terms of your own, say you mentioned the way you work with your single parents that you coach, and you ask them to take a step back and look forward and think about what they want. For you, what does that look like? What's your vision for your future? Where do you want to go?
So I think in work-wise, where I want to be, I'm really clear on where I want to be and what I want to be doing, which is kind of what I'm doing now, but just on a bigger scale, I guess, because I've only been doing this for a year now. So I really want to, work with a lot more clients, and kind of continuing the one-to-one clients and making impacts there, and grow my podcast as well. So I've got podcasts as well, Single Parent Reset, which I really enjoying doing. Initially, when I first started out doing the coaching, I was like, okay, I'm not even going to have Instagram. I'm just going to be word of mouth and people will find me. And as I now know, and anyone who has started a business will know, it doesn't work like that anymore. And I have gone from being like, I'm not even going to have an Instagram, to I actually have so much to say, I had to get a podcast to say it all. So so I think, so growing the podcast, working with more one-to-one clients. And then also I do work with workplaces for workplace inclusion for single parents. And I really want to do more in this because I feel like so much needs to be done in this space. I think a lot of organizations are being really progressive with their family friendly policies, which is fantastic, but it's all based on traditional family setups. And the more that businesses are going that way, they're leaving single parents even further out. And single parents are the ones who need the most support at work in terms of being offered flexibility, career progression, all these things. So I really want to be doing more work on that and making more headway with that. That's my work-wise. So yeah, basically what I'm doing, but
Amazing.
just more of it. Yeah, I think that's what I want to be doing. And then personal life, I think, yeah, just continue with my son and just making great memories with him and enjoying him, because I mean, before I know it, he will actually be off and gone, and then I won't know what to do.
I love it. And then finally, Orla, if there is somebody listening to this podcast today and they are a single parent who's really struggling, maybe they've just recently become a single parent, or maybe they are just in a funk of single parenting and not quite knowing how to get themselves out of it. Is there any advice you would give to that listener today?
Yeah, I think there's two things. There's one, it's not just you. You are not the only one. In the UK, there's 1 in 4 families are single parent families. And a lot of the time I say this, but people come back with, but I don't know any of them. And that's absolutely fine. It can be even harder when you're hearing this statistic and it just doesn't seem like any of the single parents are at your school or in your social group. But there is 1 in 4 are single parents, or 1 in 4 families are single parent families. There are single parents out there. So go out and find them. Use apps like Frolo. Gingerbread also have some resources like local WhatsApp groups. There's groups on Facebook. There's loads of places to find single parents. And then also, along with you not being alone, reminding yourself that you're not the only one that's stuck in the evening who's had a really tricky bedtime and had no one to turn to when you're finding it too hard. You're not the only one. There is other people. Also, ask for help. I cannot stress this one enough. Ask for help. You're not a burden. No one's thinking less of you. You don't need to do it all alone. Figure out what you need help with. Really look at your day and your week. Where are the challenges? And ask people to support you. Okay, yeah, maybe you might feel like you're being a burden, but I'm telling you, you're not. And also the other thing as well is, by you asking for the help, you're getting the support your family needs. And people also like to offer help a lot of the time. It makes people feel good. And whilst maybe you can't return the favor right now, this is just a season of your life. You will be able to go back to those people who've helped you now and help them in other ways in the future. And just remember that this is just for now. You need this help, and in the future you can give that back. But ask for help. You're not a burden.
That is such good advice, and I have seen that in the Frolo community in the most beautiful way. The people who kind of came at their toughest time and were vulnerable and brave enough to put themselves out there and ask for help are now some of the people who are community champions on the app and in a much different place in their life, but there because they feel so passionately about, that paying it forward approach. And that's, I think, a really beautiful part of single parenting and single parents. You don't just forget. You don't just forget what it was like. You are there to be, in the trenches with someone else when they need it. And Orla, where can people find you?
Oh yes, so you can find me. I've got a website. It's Solas Coaching, so SOLAS. .com, and then also got Instagram, Solas Coaching, and then my podcast, Single Parent Reset, as well. So you can find that on Spotify and Apple, and I think it's on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Amazing. And on your fabulous Frolo meetups as well. I would really encourage people to join one of those. The feedback is so good from them. But Orla, thank you so much for everything you're doing for single parents and the single parents of Frolo as well. I'm really I really admire your passion, your dedication, your openness, and it's really cool to see you flying the flag as you are. And and so lovely to really properly connect and learn more about you.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me. And also thank you for all the work you're doing with Frolo. I think it's such a positive, and this is what's different about Frolo to maybe some other things out there. It's a positive space for single parents. Yes, there's some people ranting and moaning, but the general overall theme is this is a great space to be. Being a single parent's a good thing, and supporting each other. And that's what I love about Frolo. I think that's it's amazing. And I think it's brilliant what you're doing as well.
Thank you so much, Orla. Well, from one Irish gal in London, one Irish single mom in London to another, huge respect, and look forward to more collaborations together going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then I have one small favour to ask. Please can you take a minute to subscribe to the Frolo podcast and give us a rating and review? This really helps other single parents who might benefit from it find us. The Frolo app, which is fully user verified for user safety, is available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and you can find out more info and download links at www.frolo.com or follow us on Instagram at FroloApp. And you can purchase your copy of our book, How to Be a Happy Single Parent, at all the major book retailers. Until next time, have a great week.